everybody. This is B from Kongzerus, and welcome to the Next Level. This is my weekly podcast show where we bring you next level things, guests, community members. And today, I'm super excited to finally do the reveal of a project that I've been working on for the last, oh my goodness, it's almost been 2 years now. And for the last several months, I've been working very, very hard on this particular project. If you saw in the thumbnail, yes, I finally built my own full-size virtual pinball machine. I did a stream last week about the reasons I'm going to be selling my Legends pinball machine. The At Games Legends pinball machine was a great entry into the virtual pinball market. It's a three-quarter scale machine that has a 32-inch monitor. I did a backglass mod. I added solenoids and shaker motors and DOF links and PCs, and I even used Cleveland Software Design's flipper kit to be able to get the stock flippers working with solenoids too. And so it was a fun project. I learned a lot. It looks fantastic, and I'm sad to see it go. But the reason why I upgraded is because of this guy right here. I will be doing some more content on this soon. But yes, this is a full-on virtual pinball machine that is built so beautifully in the style of a Stern pinball machine, circa 2015. With a giant backglass monitor there, kind of a DMD screen that's there as well. And I did this with the help of a somebody I've really have enjoyed working with the last couple of years and really seeing him take off and providing true parts for the virtual pinball community to make this hobby easier for your typical person. Virtual pinball is not for the faint of heart for folks that want to get into it. I think the commercial versions like Arcade One Up and At Games really introduce casual virtual pinball to the market. But if you wanted to explore the world of building your own VPin, there's this company I think is one of the premier ones that is making it easier for you to add the physical components to your cabinets, those toys, the solenoids, the shaker motors, the strobes, the lights and things, the RGB buttons. All that is complicated, but this guy's made it much easier. So I'm going to welcome back to the channel somebody I had several years ago. His name is Phil Ellis, and I think he's freaking awesome. Phil, what's going on, man?
Hey.
Hey, thank you. That was a nice intro, right? I mean, I was trying to like pump you up a little bit and see
Yeah,
where
that was
you
too
are.
nice. Thanks a lot for that. Yeah.
No, I think it's been so cool talking to you over the last years and seeing your channel grow. So the last time I had you on, we were talking, I think, just flipper solenoids. I think that was like your entry into providing a mod for the home arcade community, which is my main niche. Was that a big seller for you, the flipper kits for
It
the
was
arcade or anything?
especially after that video you did. Obviously that sales were like crazy for a while.
Mhm.
They've slowed down now, but I've moved into new things, and I think the community at large has too. So, I sell a lot of things now,
All right.
and a lot of cool stuff, and I think a lot of it's in your cabinet there too, right? So
All right. So I was just checking the chat. I probably should have checked it earlier, but is the mic sounding better now? Do I sound louder? Was it really loud and hard to hear me before? Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you great.
You can hear me now? It's better now. Okay. I had the setting for the mic adjusted pretty low, but now it should be set back to an auto adjustment letter. So apologies for the intro. I should chat more often, but let me say hi to the chat real quick. I do appreciate everybody here. If you turned down the volume or turned up the volume earlier, you could turn it back down. I'm sorry I didn't have my mic adjusted properly. But yeah, Super H is here. Mad Aster Gaming is here. Carlo Vessel is here. Thank you, R. War, Kurt, Nova Sonic. They're saying no sound, but all right. So I just have to do my whole intro again. I just got to build you up. So Phil, yes, Cleveland Software Design is the company. Did you think that you would be doing more pinball with that original company design? Because you don't think Cleveland Software Design is going to be a virtual pinball shop, but it's now come like the place to go shop for pinball stuff. So talk about Cleveland Software Design for a minute. I'll pull up the
Sure.
website.
Yeah. I mean, I started this company years and years and years ago
Mhm.
because I've done software work for various companies.
Mhm.
I won't name any, but yeah, for a lot of larger companies. And I actually also own another business where I make these things called Gonu photometers. I write all the
Mhm.
software for them. They
Yeah.
measure they measure the three-dimensional light output of light fixtures and different things like that. So I've been doing that for a long time, and I've always loved pinball. I've always owned a real pinball machine, actually.
Mhm.
And I actually, you know, at one time I had a deal with my wife. I could only have one pinball machine at a time. So I'd build a pinball machine, or I'd trade for one on Craigslist. I'd fix it up. I'd trade for another on Craigslist. And then I always wanted to try this virtual pinball, space. And since I had that deal with my wife, I can only have one pinball machine. I was like, well, it's time, because now I can have other pinball machines in one.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. I bought it, or I got like a cabinet, put it together, and then I saw there was like kind of a big gap in product offerings for these machines. So I kind of just made some stuff on myself, and I thought I could probably sell this on eBay. So I threw it up on eBay, and next thing I know, people started buying them, and I was like, I can't believe you were buying these things.
I can't believe you're buying my stuff. It's because you do something that I strive to do with my channel early on, was to try to make things that felt complicated more simple. Right. My first foray into the world of YouTube was changing this the yoke, right, for Star Wars, into something you can plug into a PC. People at the time, and even at that time, I was, I don't say like I'm a designer like you with any of the software hardware stuff, but I was just like, if I can physically change this to do something and make it simpler, then that's the goal. I think you created this like accessibility for people that really resonated. So like Esmond was saying, like, yes, this is the guy behind the At Game solenoids kits. This is absolutely the guy who did that. So so that kind of kicked off. So was that kind of, I would say, the home arcade pinball machines, did that really help spur on more of the full size Vpin stuff that you'd offer? Or was your plan always to just kind of jump into offering more stuff for Vpin builders?
It definitely grew organically.
Yeah.
The flipper solenoids was, again, when I was first building my cabinet, I thought, I just want flipper solenoids. Is there anything out there that's just like easy to add solenoids just for the flippers? And there was nothing. There was ways to do it, of course. But that's when I was like, oh, I'll just come up with this and see how it does. And I designed this little board. It was pretty cheesy back then. It's much nicer now. And again, people started buying it. And then, of course, you bought it. And that's where it really took off. And actually, At Game Legends, they are putting solenoids in their cabinet. And they actually purchased my kit. Like,
Did they?
Yeah.
Like At Games folks purchased your kit?
Yeah,
like, wait, for their next
like,
version of are you leaking a secret? Like, their next version of pinball is going to have solenoids in it? Is that right?
Yeah, I actually saw the announcement that it's going to have solenoids, like just a couple weeks after they got my kit. So I was like, oh, they must be using like some of that stuff in there, which I was excited about, obviously.
All right, that's very cool. Yeah. So the offerings for that I know of, because they have their 3/4 scale Legends pinball machine. They created a micro, which is kind of fun. It's like a mini. I don't know if you've seen it. It's a micro version of their pinball with the 15.6-inch screen. It's really cute. I put legs on it. And then they're coming out with a 4K model of their pinball machine that hasn't been released yet. So we don't know tons of stuff, but if you're saying that they bought a kit from you, that's really cool to see like how they integrate. And I've seen, because I bought your early kit, and you're right. You've kept updating the way you've done stuff over time. And so I got your new versions of your solenoid life extenders. And I think that's what's really cool about your parts too, is because I think at the time when I was building Vpin components, a lot of people were using, when I did research, contactors for solenoids instead of the kind of, it's the motor solenoids, right? Like car solenoids that you would use, because that is lower voltage. But so describe kind of why you went that route, and was it cheaper? And the board, what does your product actually do? Like the solenoid life extender, and I'll pull it up so people can see it.
Yeah, I probably have one somewhere around here too.
Yeah.
Here's one. Yeah. So this is, I think I love these things. And most people don't realize they don't just really extend the life of your solenoid. I mean, they do that, which is a really nice part of what they do. One of the big disadvantages with using the automotive solenoids is that they will overheat if they're left on for even a few minutes. But they don't need all that current constantly driving them. They only need, they take about 3.5 amps, about 50 watts of power to initially engage them. But then to hold them, they only need very, very little amount of power. And I actually even contacted the manufacturer of the solenoids and got them to build some special ones for me to some different modifications so that I can even put less current inside of them. So what these do is just for very small amount of time. It's like, I think like 17 milliseconds. They put the full current in the solenoid. So it's able to hit really hard.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that 17 milliseconds, they just drop the current down just low enough so that it can hold the solenoid in place. So you still get that feeling like a regular solenoid, but it will never overheat.
Yeah.
And the best part about that, really, I mean, obviously it's great that you increase the life of your solenoid, but the other part that's really nice about it is your power supply requirements go way down.
Yeah, 12 volts. It runs on 12 volts. And like
12 volts, yeah. And only like 10 amps will run your entire machine.
Yeah.
If you're not using these, you need like a 40 amp supply or 50 amp supply to run all your gear.
Yeah.
Because all those solenoids take so much more power if they're on
Yeah.
all at the same time.
Just in my Legends pinball machine, because the original contactors I was using was 24 volts. I have a 24 volt supply. Then I have my other things that are 12 volts. Like that was like packed to the core with everything in there. But I love how simple you made this. And so you went beyond just the flipper kit. So for folks that you bought a flipper kit in the chat or in the comment section for watching this, let me know in the comments if you've used Cleveland Software Design for any of your stuff. Would love to hear, kind of your experience with it. Because I think if you enjoyed that product, and you want to eventually upgrade and build your own cabinet that's larger or something, they talk about the builder's kit. So that kind of started recently in I would say last year, because you reached out and said, hey, I have this builder's kit now that I'm offering. I saw some of your videos. What's the evolution of the builder's kit that you started offering?
Sure, yeah. And this, it came because I was selling all the individual components, and I'd keep getting emails from people. What do I buy? Like, it's so confusing when you first, get a pinball machine. It's like, I want to add DOF. I want to add feedback. What do I purchase? And people would be so confused even looking on my site because there's just so much stuff to choose from. And I thought, why don't I just package everything together in one kit so that there's no question. It's like, you're going to get everything you need right off the bat, like to build the whole thing. And it is pretty much the whole thing. It's the buttons, it's the solenoids, you got a shaker motor in there, the light bar. And I've come up with a couple extra things you get on
plunger, right?
In there. And so you just buy this one kit. It's not cheap, but you can buy this one kit. Everything's there, and you're good to go. It's all put together for you.
The extreme kit, right?
The extreme kit.
I love you came out with the naming conventions for everything. So yes, I actually did get a kit sent to me for Phil. And then after I got it and sat on it for a couple months, because it was really kind of intense and intimidating, I finally was like, okay, I'm going to put this together and build it. So thank you for sending me that kit. I want to do a full-on review and showcase it. But the way that I implemented Phil's kit into my build is probably not your typical way you would do it. So I want to give that disclaimer. But I'm going to be building 2 of these and will be a full-on customer and buying a second kit completely from you, because I'm super excited about. I loved how you're continually, updating your products. But this is the Virtual Pinball Builders Kit. I got the extreme version with the light bar, a shaker motor, the buttons. I didn't end up using all the parts though, because my build was dumb. I'll just say that much. No, I'm just kidding. So let's talk about the history of my kit really quickly, and then I'll showcase some of the builds and really show it off. So let me just pull this up really big screen. Okay, so this build here was actually made by this guy. If you ever remember, there was a front end called Hyperspin. You remember Hyperspin? It's like a front end. So there's CoinOps, Launchbox. So Hyperspin, his name is Bad Boy Bill. He created and made Hyperpin, like his own kind of front end for Virtual Pinball, and wanted to make his own personal cab. So him and his buddy made 2 of these, and this is based off of a 2014-2015 Stern pinball machine. It's super well done. Custom lockdown bar with the fire mech here, 42-inch screen, had the full-on back box, really clean there. It had a real DMD in there that I had some trouble getting working, so I ended up putting an LCD screen, sadly. Really big monitor with toys in the back. There's a knocker, freaking scoring reels, 2 chime bells in there. And then let's open this up, because this is probably the most impressive part. So most of your Vpin builds will just kind of lift up, and then you'll have parts in the bottom. You're just dropping your TV in. But this thing, this is not your typical way to build and put Phil's kit in here. Ready for this? It's gonna lift up, and this opens up pretty much like a real pinball machine, and it's gonna lift up. Hold on, I have to put a cover on the back monitor because it's gonna tilt on it. All right, so this is gonna lift up, and there it is. Just like a real pinball machine, it lifts up in the play field. That's Phil's Extreme kit that is essentially put onto the bottom of the play field where the monitor is mounted. And then it has on the inside lots of additional toys, a real coin box, subwoofer PC, real flipper leaf buttons that you would see in a real pinball machine in here as well, RGB buttons. The wiring was beautiful. It just took a long time to take it apart. There's a tilt bob in here. There's a gear motor down there, a shaker motor here, so I didn't end up using your shaker motor. In the back, there was also 3 chimes, and I didn't end up using that. But I think I got everything else working on here. So that's kind of the atypical setup. But here it is, the extreme kit in here that's mounted onto the bottom side. So when you saw this, was this probably not a typical setup that you would normally see for people using your kit, or have you seen something similar or even more extreme?
You know, thankfully, some of my customers will send me pictures. I have seen a couple that have gone to these lengths and put everything together. Sometimes even greater lengths than this, believe it or not. Yeah, but I'd say 99% of them, they just bolt it right in.
And they just bolt it down. So I mean, and what I had to do, because a lot of what Phil's kit does, what he does really nicely is that even though I remounted this to the wood, and yes, it does produce, I think, a better thunking sound. You normally have everything kind of mounted to this type of board. So what is this board made out of? Is this like a melamine, or like what is this that you normally mount it to?
It's just a PVC board, and really the reason why I use it because it's clean. You know, when you cut it doesn't make a bunch of big mess or anything.
Yes. So normally the solenoids are mounted to this. So if you have the 3 solenoid bars, they're mounted on here with the kit, and you can just mount this onto this. I was literally one day was just me saying, should I keep this and just leave this on here like that? Should I not? Can I put the 2 this way and just leave it there? I was like, part of me was just moving the pieces, puzzle the pieces around. Like, can I put the things on the side? And then I ultimately decided to just go for it because the original parts, I kind of kept the solenoids where the original solenoids were on the old build too. And it was weird because he had a combination between these automotive ones and contactors. So it was a really interesting setup. I think I showed you original pictures of it. But it was using a Zeb's board. It was a little bit more complicated. But let's talk about the main guts of this board, because I think this was a newer product at the time that kind of helps bring it all together. This is like the main thing, right? That's a KLZ 25. Like, this is your version of a Pinscape board, right?
Yeah, it basically is a Pinscape board. I mean, it uses a Pinscape firmware. That's a KL25Z, and then it mounts onto there, and all I do is just expose the outputs. And the nice part about it is you'll see you can even probably pull off one of those. All those chips are removable. So if you accidentally fry a chip, which I've had plenty of customers do this, and instead of having to buy a whole new board, you just buy a new chip and you just plug it in, and then you're good to go. So it's really nice.
Yeah, and so that was really fun to mess around and play with everything. But yes, this controls kind of like individually each little toy. So when you're using Kinstorp, you'll see these light on, and when a solenoid lights up, you'll see one of these light up with an LED as well. So it's really cool that you can actually see which one of these is doing what. And so you can kind of see this being a little bit crooked because this was me having to tweak certain things in case it was like, I don't know, like I had to like wiggle some parts, and they could think that was just me because I had to unmount everything. I did have a couple of issues with some solenoids and some of the, what do you call these, life extenders, or is that what these are?
Those are the MOSFET boards,
MOSFET boards. Some of them were firing in weird ways, and I spent a couple of days and weeks troubleshooting, but I finally got everything up and running. But yeah, it was a beast. This was your stock power supply. What's the power supply voltage that you provide in your kit?
12 volt. 10 amp power supply, and it's all you need. It runs everything because of those life extenders. That powers everything in here, and I think even the shaker motor too. So the shaker motor plugs into this. Had a gear motor, and then I have I think it's also powering some of my other stuff in the back too. Actually, I have a separate 24 volt one for the back toys. So the knocker, that's another thing that you have that does normally need a higher voltage, right? So you actually created another thing that kind of ups up the voltage if you needed to do something a little bit different, right? Like I on this extender board, you had the ability to change the voltages for specifically these outputs. So can you talk about that? I try to explain it, but I figured you can do it better. Yeah, it's a cool feature. It'll essentially, you can in these expansion boards, you can run them at 12. You can run like a bank of 16 at 12 volts. you could run a bank of 3 at a different voltage, like 24 volts. And then you could run a bank of 2 at another voltage if you want, at like 48 volts if you wanted to have like real pinball mechs or something like that. So
Yeah.
it kind of allows that flexibility. You can hook up 3 different power supplies to it.
Yeah. And so these right here, these powers right here, these are wired to a 24-volt power supply. And then I have 5 different outputs going to a knocker, 2 bells, and then 2 scoring reels that ran at 24 volts originally on this table. So those are my 5 things that I had. And then I ordered a second board to think I can get more, but then that was like the limitation for the high powered ones with these additional 5 powers. So you're like, how many more outputs are you gonna need? Like, usually you wouldn't need more than that, because these are your solenoids here, your gear, your shaker motor. But yeah, like typically can people continue expanding it like with the boards that you had? Was I just a little bit more beyond what typical users would have?
You can. I don't think I've ever had anyone that needed more outputs than it can offer. But I do have one customer that had 3 expansion boards.
Yeah, I had 3 expansion boards.
Okay. Yeah, running everything. So
let's walk through this kit really fast. So here's the main board, right? Yep. And then it goes into this first expansion board here. And then this covers the RGB light bar, right?
Yep. Yeah, those 16 outputs are like the lower power outputs. They can handle like 1 amp at a time. Yeah.
So this is for like RGB lights, and this specifically works with the light bar that he includes. And then these are like 5 additional high powered inputs that you can do that run off of the original, I think KL25Z, right?
Yeah.
Output. So that kind of like gives you outputs 1 through 16. And then these are like 16 to 33 on the outputs. I know this is really complicated, but and then this is another third board for the buttons, because you also included RGB buttons in your kit. So this is another expansion board. So typically this is like the 3 boards you would get in your extreme kit, right?
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
You get those 3 boards, you get the life extender boards, you get the button board, you get there's a bunch of stuff, but it all does connect. I do have a video kind of showing me installing it all. I don't know if you watched that video.
I did. I watched it several times because I had to see how everything was wired up. And I'll do a more detailed video. I just wanted to do a showcase and talk to Phil because I like talking through these things, but I'll do a much cleaner video explaining it and so that people don't have to watch this hour-long stream. But yeah, this is really great to see. But I even had an issue because since I mounted this on this top plate and I had to lift it up, I had to ask Phil for some extra extended cables, because otherwise I would have to unplug it if I ever wanted to lift this up. So for a good month, every time I had to lift it, I had to unplug it and then work on something, plug it back in and get it work. It was just a mess. So I appreciate you working me with that, because the button board, I couldn't get the length of these buttons to kind of like this wire to match if I mounted this on the top part too. So it's just stupid configuration. I was like learning things, cutting off, but these are the button configurations that go into the side. And then this is another button board here. So I'll explain it in a future detailed video, but seeing it all together and finally working, it was a thing of beauty. So I think that's the really fun part about the hobby was, even though this was frustrating, I felt so much joy figuring this out. Tell me about like when you design stuff. You said that's kind of like your favorite thing, right? It's just figuring stuff out. Like, do you face challenges like this all the time?
Oh, for sure. I mean, there's I've had so many things happen where, I order something and it comes in and then it doesn't work. But it's like, and the turnaround time can be so long on some of this stuff. It can be really frustrating. But when you finally get everything together and it works properly, yeah, it is a great feeling. And I think, I've got new stuff coming out. It's going to get easier and easier. That's all I can say. Like I'm coming up with ideas to make these things even easier to incorporate. And there's even better stuff coming down the pipeline in the future.
I'm so excited that you're still continuing to work on stuff. And I was trying to see if I can do a quick demo of the buttons, but I'm like, my buttons now are reacting to something. So this is the fun part. It's like, what did I break live? This is why people watch me live and they're like, why is this guy dumb enough to do like live modding? It's like, I'm sure something got unplugged and now my flippers are not like reacting to what they're supposed to be. Oh my goodness. So fun little story, right? Did it actually go? Something on? I have a version of Pinup Popper on here, and it flipped right next to the Pokemon table was the Playboy table. And then my son's like, I don't think I should be watching this table. Yeah, that was
Just
super funny.
auto goes through the things.
Yeah,
So you got no. You're not gonna be able to show us the table working.
yeah. Oh, I am. I'm gonna get it going. Okay.
Okay.
Where am I at? So
I can
All right.
talk a little bit. Oh, I know. While you're trying to get that working, I'll talk about because you mentioned the 24-volt knocker.
Yes.
And I actually did create a new circuit that can run a 24-volt knocker off of 12 volts. So
yeah,
it actually,
I'm gonna take a break for a second.
it actually boosts the voltage up, goes up to 24 volts, and then has a life extender built into it too. So you can essentially just plug that into your board and get a 24-volt output to a knocker. And I do have this knocker here. This is a design that I have that's coming out soon. So this is going to run off of that. It's going to be a very, very loud knocker that I offer, and should be available pretty soon.
So you made your own custom knocker, so you don't have to buy one? Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that way it'll be available on my site pretty soon.
So really quickly, there's a $10 super chat here from Vessel that says, really appreciate this guest and his kits. Thanks for covering this and always doing great things, B. I appreciate that. So here's a quick $10 super chat to show your appreciation. I've always wondered, like, what's the difference then between the knocker and a solenoid? Is it just because it hits harder? It just needs more power is essentially the difference?
The goal is to make it hit so hard that it, like, you know, if someone's next to your machine, they'll be like, "Ah, what the heck is that?" You know?
Yeah.
So,
Move out of the way. Yeah.
It only goes off at certain events in the table. Really, when you get replays, that's the main time when it'll go off.
This is true. All right, so here we go. Finally got it. Let's go into.
You got it.
What's a table that's done? I mean, then let's just do GoldenEye because that's the one that's like right here that's working. I've also had some issues with the audio. Okay.
It's just like a real pinball machine. Nothing ever works right. You always have to keep
it. Yeah, right? Okay, so I'm going to kind of do this where it's like open. Oh, you can even hear the gear motor going off right now, but I want to show off like the flipper solenoids because since I'm having you here, like just demoing the stuff going off, I think would be really fun. Okay, so
cool.
Here it is. There's a button going.
Oh yeah, you can see the light on there. Yep.
Yeah. So that's entering some coins. Okay. Oh, I think I could have the I had the coin door open, so even had the coin mech in there. All right, press start. There it is. Okay. Let's go. Pair one. Let's start. Okay. So yeah, on the bottom side, there's lots of stuff happening. If I'm pressing the flippers, you can kind of see that light going off on the main board. I just wanted to show off that part. I was taking videos of it earlier, but you can kind of see how it's lighting down there. And this is lighting up here. These are lights for the buttons that are on right now. So it has the RGB buttons that are kind of lit up due to the side. So yeah, everything kind of lights up on its own and everything is wired correctly. It should go off in the table in certain parts of here. So let's bring this down and we can see everything in place. Oh, I'm shaking the table, so there's too much. It's over tilting right now.
You just gave yourself a tilt.
I'm tilting my machine a lot right now. It's like, stop tilting. You're moving the ball too much. Okay. All right, calm down.
It might that KLZ since it was tilted up like this, it might actually be thinking that it's like now.
Yeah, I gotta restart the table. I was thinking I was being all crazy for a second there. Okay, let's do that. That's the other thing. There was no option in the Pinscape board when you're configuring the KLZ monitor to like, it's like facing the front this way, but mine is like upside down. It. So it's actually like inversed, like nudging, but it actually works well. So it works pretty well. Okay. All right. Here we go. There's the ball coming out just as a sample. You can kind of see the flashing happening. So launcher button is, I had the launcher kind of going with that middle solenoid too, because I kind of ran out of inputs. So that was just one thing that I did. All right, so I have the ball come in.
You got a ball?
Where'd the ball go?
The ball, probably that tilt, like.
That ball messed me up. Oh, I reset the table though.
Oh yeah, you did. That's right.
Oh, there it goes. All right. There's the ball coming down. Now I don't know what happened to my sound though. I gotta fix the sound on my speakers. Oh yeah, I got the shaker motor going. I have a gear motor in here. But you can kind of feel the whole thing shaking, which is really great. And then I love how I've never had the RGB flashers before, but I just love how that really sets up with everything and lights up with certain events. Like that's always really distracting and fun with the strobe lights. And
they're very, very bright. I mean, that's one thing you'll notice. Like my flasher bar, I use super bright LEDs.
Yeah.
It really it sets it apart from anything else you might see out there. They're really, really bright. Now you can turn them down if they're right in front of the playfield like you have, which might be a good option in this case. Definitely hear those solenoids really well since you got no music playing.
Yeah, you can hear everything. I guess that's probably a better thing that you can just hear everything. I gotta fix the audio, but I feel the shaker motor playing like really well too. And I didn't think a gear motor would make a big difference, but there are some tables that have like mechanical things that move. So a gear motor is actually a really fun mechanic. I didn't think I'd hear it more often than I thought I would.
Now, the next thing you got to try is SSF.
Oh, surround sound? Yeah. I did that in my Legends pinball machine with the actual, but then you be able to hear everything rolling down the sides. So you just created an SSF kit too, didn't you?
I did. It's, pretty, I kind of spent a lot of time trying to find the right speakers for it. And I mean, they're pretty commonly, you'll see them pretty commonly out there. But again, just try to make it pretty easy to put together and have it working. And put some nice documentation on my site too. So even if you're not buying my kit, the documentation is really helpful, I think, for getting everything going.
Even setting up like SSF too. And I don't know, I guess that's another theory or like an option for Vpin builders, because I know some people were saying if you do surround sound feedback really well, it may even replace the need to do the physical solenoids because it sounds so good. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Because you created a lot of hardware options, but do they work well together? Or
I actually, I mean, a really good SSF kit, like what I sell on my site, it is a viable alternative for sure.
Yeah.
To the actual solenoids and everything. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing how good it is. If you get a good kit, if you get the cheap speakers, it's just not quite right. But you get the good speakers and a good amp and hook it up, and it's substantially good.
Yeah. And so this speaker setup has like it's like a 2.1 system only in here, but there's like a beefy like amp in here too. So I when I have the amp, I think my connection is just a little bit off because the speaker's just turned off right now and I hear like buzzing. Probably messed with something when I opened it up, but I do hear the ball rolling, but it's not as deep as like having exciters on the side, be able to feel it from the top to bottom. So that could be an eventual upgrade, but it's one of the reasons why I wanted a bigger pinball machine, because I wanted to be able to fit more toys and more feedback and stuff. And so your kit kind of gets you halfway there, and then the sky's the limit from there. But once everything was set up and working, I was really excited to just get your kit finally working and using the flashers. The RGB bar makes a huge difference. So like, what's your personal build look like? I'm really curious to know what you've done, because obviously to make this, you have to build it and test it yourself, right?
Yeah. It's actually very similar to what you've got there. I mean, I can. Oh, actually, if you watch my YouTube videos,
can I pull it up? I'll pull up a YouTube video. Is that the one that you still have?
Yeah, there's a couple. There's one on there where I actually show off my build. It's nothing fancy, but it's got all the toys in it, and it's got SSF and everything working, and it's a great.
Would you say it's like is it a completed project yet, or are you still like tinkering with it as like a test project?
You should see it's always ripped apart. It's like half the time it doesn't even work because I'm always putting something in there and testing something. So I just like tinkering with it all the time. And I think there's a lot of people out there like that too. I'm not the only one.
Yeah, for sure. That's me too. Like before I even did this today, like half my parts were all over the floor, and my wife was finally appreciative I had like somewhat finished this. But it's never a done project. Okay, so here is Cleveland Software Design. Philip has his own website, or his YouTube channel is just Phil Ellis. Maybe you rebrand it to Cleveland Software Design, right? That could be the number one thing that you do. But that's your demo on how to set it up, right?
That's the demo of the kit. But then I should have a video. There it is, right there, fully outfitted. That's my cabinet right there.
All
All
right.
right. Well, hope you guys are ready to see.
Yeah, I just turned the volume down.
I'll show you what.
Oh, you can hear.
it looks
By the way,
like.
in the background there, you hear that clicking going off. That's because I've tested these solenoids that I get.
And
I've done a lot of modifications to them,
unfortunately, you
Uh-huh.
can't
and
see that
I've been able to test those solenoids out to like over 10 million triggers actually,
Mhm.
and they still weren't failing. So I kind of was like, okay, they're good now.
Nice.
Yep.
So this is a custom built machine that you put together, or is this like a kit from something else that started as something else?
This is a custom build. I
Mhm.
had a friend locally who has a CNC machine,
Mhm.
and so I asked him to put something together for me, and he did. And then we never completely finished it. I was just kind of playing around with the idea, like, oh, could I sell like actual kits? I kind of decided it's too much work; it's not worth it. So we
So did you
stopped.
make? Is that just like a custom box for your DMD, and then you have like another monitor on top of that, like so it's not a full singular box?
Yeah, this was my idea. I kind of
Mhm.
like the idea of not constraining the monitor size that sits on the top of the cabinet.
Mhm.
So I was like, why do you even need the whole back box? You can just set a monitor on there,
That's true.
and you can have a giant widescreen monitor for your back box, and you can play arcade games on it and stuff. And so I don't know. I thought that was kind of cool. It was a little bit unique in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's nothing fancy, but it's still a
It
great.
works. There it is. And then so what size monitor do you have as your back box back there?
That's a 32-inch monitor. I think that might be. I think that's a 27-inch monitor. I can't remember. Yeah, 27, and then it's 32 in the.
So what's that other pinball machine in the background with the little control
Oh,
panel?
that's a Game Room Solutions. That's my first one.
Your very, very first one? So that was
Yeah.
a kit. And it was like half arcade, half kind of a setup. But
Yeah,
it's like a miniature one too, right? It's not like a big one, or
that was just a 27-inch screen.
27-inch screen. And what have you done with that Simpsons arcade one up? Is that just stock, or even tinkering with stuff too?
Oh yeah, that I got on a pretty good deal. It was like at a consignment store. I saw it there, and I was like, I gotta buy it. And I thought maybe I'll make something for it, but
Maybe you'll make something for it. So definitely check out Philip Ellis is the actual YouTube channel. Like maybe I would recommend changing this to Cleveland Software Design. That way people can like search it and look for it. I have linked your video several times, on my channel, and I'll put a link directly into this description if people want to check it out. But you want to see the surround sound feedback kit installation, how to set up stuff. I really enjoy looking at your kind of builds and things. And again, it's one version and how to do it, but there's, like I'd say, there's many ways to, I hate the phrase skin a cat, but there's lots of ways to put stuff together. But this was just one option that you see from a completed build here. I think somebody I was asking in the chat a couple of questions. Let's see. He was saying more pinball is always appreciated. There it is. Nissan says, is this mine? This will be a version very similar to mine pretty soon. This was a build for somebody else that I helped finish, and then I'm going to be getting a replica version of this to kind of finish off my own. But I might be using some more new parts that you mentioned. So let's talk a little bit about what other future upgrades and things you have planned. I know you mentioned a couple of them before.
Yeah, this is something I've been working on. I don't know if many of you have been noticing, but the KL25Z board is kind of hard to come by these days. The NXP isn't really manufacturing them anymore, at least in large quantities. So I actually created a new board. I'm going to call it the Pin One.
Let's see it. Okay.
Yeah, you can see it a little bit there. It's got all the features plus a few extra really nice things that the Pinscape was not able to offer. So it's got the whole configuration tool. It's all open source. It's actually based on the Arduino platform. So it's very easy to modify. If anyone has done anything with Arduino, you can easily modify it on there. One of the really nice features is that it has ability to provide power for all the buttons. So you won't need an expansion board to light up all your buttons on your cabinet.
Nice.
You can just run them right off of this board.
Cool.
And so that's
are you going to build like a whole nother like main board that plugs in all the inputs easily? So that'll be like kind of like that first main board that you have?
Yeah, it'll be very similar to that, but just using this board instead. I'll still offer some Pinscape stuff for a time but since supplies are limited, I just thought it'd be great to do this. And by the way, this is extremely low cost. So, it won't be expensive. And if you just want to just get this board to get nudge and tilt and hook up a plunger to your system, like you can do that. So it'll give you that ability without having to buy a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I totally agree that this guy is awesome. So, and in terms of the software side, so it's not gonna register as a pin skateboard, right? Like you're gonna create your own UI for configuration and everything too.
Yeah. Yeah, I already
Okay.
have the tool completely built for
Oh
configuring it.
wow,
So,
that's awesome.
and it's got some really nice features. Like
Okay.
for nudge,
Mm-hmm.
that was something that's always really difficult to configure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I built a really nice configuration utility for nudge. So
Mm-hmm.
now you can actually like turn on this nudge feature and hit your solenoids, and it'll actually build a map of where that is coming from and ignore the solenoids so that it won't
Mm-hmm.
nudge when you hit solenoids, and it'll
Oh,
set all that
okay.
up for you real nicely. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's very cool. I mean, so this build was the first time using a KL25Z board, and so all the other builds, like my accelerometers were never that sensitive. Even the stock at games one and the stock arcade one up ones, like they were trash. I never really felt the nudge features on it. But even with the stock KL25Z, I was like, oh, like if I catch the ball and I move the table, I could see it move, even though it's the opposite direction. So, but you're saying you can even calibrate it even further, like get that
yeah,
really feeling like it? Because with
yeah, the nudge should
pinball,
be.
you know, you don't really. I mean, you probably should be nudging, right? But it's hard to feel it actually making a difference. But it sounds cool if you can tweak it to get to that point and make it feel as real as you can.
Yeah, it should be really great in the nudge category. That's what I was
Nudge
aiming for
category.
anyway.
Nudge category. So
Yeah.
would the expansion boards also still work the same way too? Like to be able to get the extra toys and the things very similar?
Yep. I'll have expansion boards. So this will be a little house. It actually has, I think, 31 outputs natively on here.
Okay.
So without
Nice.
any expansion boards, you get 31 outputs just right out the gate. 20 of them
Right.
are PWM,
Mm-hmm.
and then 24 button inputs. And
So 31
and
like physical like device output. So like for input devices for toys and things. Oh, okay.
31 outputs, yeah, for
Okay.
toys, and then
Okay.
24 button inputs built right
24
into the
button
board.
inputs. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was funny because I ran out of button inputs on the board, and then I realized that on the expansion board, that's where you had the other buttons that you
Yeah.
could plug into. So I was like, I didn't even realize those buttons were there, even though you had it on your diagram because you have a diagram of the buttons. I totally missed that because what I did was this has a real coin door mech, and then it has a credit button, and so I just wired all three of them into the same button for just one credit. And then I could have actually did the thing where I have left like coin and right coin and credit button if I wanted to, but I didn't go that deep into it.
That's
But
cool.
oh yeah, here's the infamous Playboy table. Oh yeah,
Oh
fun
boy.
times. So I also have heard rumors from people that you're not just a person that helps just sell the hardware. I think people have mentioned that sometimes you offer to help support if they're not getting things working. So like how often do you provide support to customers if they can't get it set up? Because I think that's one of the best things I've heard about your services.
I'm pretty sure every single one of my customers, I've gotten them up and
Working?
running with DOF.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's not that often because now it seems like my documentation's come to a point where most people can get it working on their own. But
Mhm.
I'll log into your computer if you have an issue, and I'll help you get DOF working. So like
Yeah.
I'll make sure to spend the time that's necessary because I want everyone to enjoy virtual pinball just like I do. Like this is my
Yeah.
passion. I
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
it. And I want everyone else to be able to enjoy it too. So I'm trying to just help the community more than anything.
Yeah, and you can see on his website he actually does have if you're using the stock setup, he has the pre-configured setup where you could just use his files and drop it into direct output and get it working. Since I had like weird inputs and things, I used my own DOF config and just assigned the ports to the right things. But you go through that length. So I think that's just another really cool thing about Phil is that he's everybody that I've heard that's worked with you, you've really gone that extra mile to really help them out. So definitely check it out if you're interested in building your own virtual pinball machine. It's again, people were asking me last week, like, why are you selling your Legends pinball machine? You should never get rid of that thing. It's the best thing ever. And then, people weren't watching the end where I said, I have a new big toy that I've been enjoying playing with. And tinkering is always the best part of the hobby. So I think I have a little bit more tweaking to do. Do you normally play all the different emulators? Do you stick with Visual Pinball? Do you like FX3, Zakaria, Pinball Arcade? Like, what do you mostly play when you're playing?
I've played them all,
Yeah.
but Visual Pinball is the best. That's all
Yeah.
I can say.
Yeah. I've been enjoying it a lot more, but I've been having some issues with FX3 working. So I might reach out to you because I have some toys popping off that I don't think should be going off at the same time. So like I have like my knockers going off consistently, and with any of the bumpers, it's setting off the chime bells in addition to the solenoid. So it's like, oh, I guess that kind of makes sense.
Huh.
But like, because it's like a little bell. So I don't know. I got to figure that out. But I'll reach out to you because you provide support to it. That's really awesome. Yeah, that's really great. Let me know if you guys have any other questions in the chat. Hobbyhand says his machine is very nice looking. You can tell there was a lot of love put into it. Yeah, I do think that you've been really helpful to the Vpin community. So let's talk about one last little project that you have, and then we'll kind of close it out. So Phil showed me another neat tool, and so this might be for somebody that wants a portable pinball experience. Would you say? Like, what was the inception of this new thing that you're going to show off?
Again, when I first started doing virtual pinball, I just played it in front of my computer screen, and I'd use a keyboard. It was just never ergonomically quite right. And with this coming out, okay, I thought, oh, what can I put this in? And I thought, oh, I can put this in a little portable pinball controller. Okay, so it's got a nice stainless steel top, and it feels like a regular pinball machine. It's got the buttons on the side. It's got a real plunger in it. And so, yeah, it's just like all right there. I can put solenoids in it too, which I probably will. And it has a stainless steel top. I actually designed a nice aluminum top that can go on it too. It's a black anodized aluminum. Same material that's on the light bar, which I think you'll see is really nice stuff. So
then is that just going to be wired into a PC? You could be sitting on, it could be on your lap. Is it meant to be like on a table? It's like, I could be on my couch playing virtual pinball. Is that kind of the deal?
Yeah, you could sit it on your lap, or you could sit it on top of your desk and just turn your monitor sideways, and you got a whole pinball machine.
Yeah, for sure. That's a really cool option. I think, that you will find, the Vpin community, some people want to play it on the go, or like play it on their phones, or play it on mobile devices and things. So I think options are always great. I think there could be a market for folks that have limited space to build a full machine that could really use that. There's other third-party vendors like Buy Stuff Store and other people that try to keep making these innovative products. So I love it. I think it's awesome. So someday you might be changed to Cleveland Software Pinball. It's something that actually gets people to know that you're more than just a design company. What's next beyond that? Do you feel like there'd be some more expansion in the Vpin market? Would you venture into anything else?
I don't know right now. I'm like, obviously I'm always going to be coming out with new stuff just because I love it. Like it's kind of my passion. It's my hobby. So I'm always going to be coming out with new things. A lot of people want me to do addressable LEDs. So I'll probably look into that.
Yeah. Addressable LEDs, like those, that's a really common toy that I see put into some machines as well. I don't know if there's anything else. Like some people have put fans and other things like I don't know.
I've thought about designing a chime unit.
A chime?
Yeah. Okay. So an actual chime unit. Yeah. But I got more important things to work on right now. So that's what
the bells are kind of fun. Like when I hear the bells go off, those are pretty cool. What about DMD support? Is there anything like that that's easy to configure with that? Or I mean, that's pretty easy, right? Like your box that you created was just a box.
What was that? What was the question?
So like a DMD support, most people are using like LCDs for like DMDs, right? But there's also people that still like real DMDs. And I had a pain in the butt trying to get my real that was another 2 weeks of just trying to figure if I can get my real DMD to work. And I just failed.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if I would get into that or not. I could, but I actually like look at your screen. It looks great. And it's more versatile for pump.
Yeah. It's actually it's a red plexiglass with an LCD behind it. It still looks good. Right.
Yeah. So I kind of like, I know people would buy it probably if I sold it, but I kind of think an LCD screen is the way to go.
Yeah. I mean, I was trying to get a real DMD working with PIM DMD too. And I just could not get it working. And I figure a smart guy like you might be able to offer more options. And most people actually prefer, I think nowadays, the full screen DMD, just because you can see some of the modern pinball machines now have a full-size DMD. So if they're going to start replicating it, you're going to start needing the full-size screen. So
exactly. It's like that thing's good for all the machines built from like 1980 something to 2010. But anything after that or before that, it's not really useful.
Mike votes for addressable LEDs too. I think that would be really cool. Although sometimes don't they get a little distracting? Like I feel like these lights are already distracting. I mean, addressable LEDs is just like, goodness, it's like light show galore, right?
That's my opinion, but a lot of I think a lot of people like it when they've guests over and they're like, look at my pinball machine. And it's
Look
like,
at my pinball machine, right?
oh,
Boom, 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 boom. Or like, so addressable LED, is that the same? Because that normally goes on the sides versus the LED matrix on the front, like, isn't that like
there's an LED matrix on the front, and then there'll be two things running on the side. The only reason why I haven't done it yet is, well, for one thing, I'm busy with other things, but also it's not super user friendly yet. I want to make something that's easy to install, that's not going to give me a bunch of headaches if I try and sell it with supporting people. So I want to come out with something that's really clean and good. And I'm going to have to spend a lot of time doing that. So I just haven't taken the time to do that because there's been other things, like the absence of scale 25Z boards in the marketplace that I've had to do instead. But that'll probably be, probably the end of this year. I'll probably have something for addressables. We'll see.
So addressable LED options coming. Here's just somebody was asking for more gameplay. This is a Terminator 2. So just gonna shoot it out. And I don't know what happened to the actual physical stuff though.
Now you got nothing going.
Now I got nothing going on. All right, it is what it is, right? I mean, some tables just no, I messed something up. It always happens. It's Murphy's Law when I'm doing a live stream and you're modding. Like there's always something that's going wrong or off with it. So I'm not sure what's going on. It was working before, or it's my Turtles table. Let's see if I can do something else that would do it. Oh, good old Adams family. So what's your favorite virtual pinball table to play?
Actually, probably either Adams Family or Twilight Zone.
Oh, okay.
Love those two.
And
my first pinball machine was a Pinbot, so I do love Pinbot too.
Yeah, nice. I think I need to also, because I don't always have quarters on me. Like since Visual Pinball requires coins, I gotta create a coin button because I always have to either put in a real quarter or open it up and press the credit button. So I'm like, this is not gonna be fun to do.
It's cool that it's got a real coin door though.
Yeah, like the real coin door mech and everything was really interesting. Okay, all right, so let's see. Yeah, something went off and it's everything not working correctly. But
that's one thing I've never seen is a virtual pinball machine in like an arcade. I'd love to see that. Has anyone ever seen?
I think the closest thing is, that polymorphic. Have you seen the P3 machines? The one that has it's like an LCD playfield, but then they'll have physical parts in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So have you seen one of those in an arcade?
So some breweries locally have them. So the one that's most popular, I think, is there's a Weird Al's version of that. So there's a Weird Al table that uses an LCD playfield and some physical components, and it's really weird. But I think that's the closest thing I've seen to Vpin. Funny enough, AtGames was actually at one point making a commercial version of their pinball machine to be put out in public places to be able to use coin-op. But I think people were concerned that it was only their stock tables and then the Zakaria tables. So, maybe people wouldn't want to be playing random. I mean, they're okay, right? But there's no VPX, right? It's no.
Yeah, and I guess there'd be all kinds of licensing issues if you try.
I guess that's the main thing with VPX. Yeah, exactly. Having all these tables and the whole point that you need to be doing it and not paying for it, and I think that would be an issue. So it would almost have to be like a free play model, right? So you wouldn't be charging per credit. And
it's it's almost like these old movies that get brought back to life, on Netflix and stuff. Like somehow somebody needs to come out there and make it a real commercial option. But maybe it's good that it's not going to happen because get all this great stuff for free instead, which is way better.
All right, so as soon as this stream is over, I'm going to go back to tinkering and making sure this is up and running. I'll do a full-on kind of mod tutorial and review of Phil's kit, but I always enjoy these streams where I actually get to talk to the creator and just pick his brain a little bit, understand a little bit more about the process. But this has been an exciting project for me. I really thank you for sending this to me to kind of tinker with and do something out of the box. Hopefully it wasn't too annoying with all the questions I sent you. But that's the typical experience, I would say, in Vpin. Any final things that you want to mention to folks? And I'm sure I'll have you back on to showcase some other stuff soon.
Yeah, I just thanks a lot for having me on today, and happy to help out the community. I'm glad that people find the stuff that I make useful and valuable and helps them to enjoy pinball. So
yeah, look at this. You have some customers here saying Phil is awesome, great products, great customer service. That's awesome. People want to see Black Knight. Esmond was saying, remember when At Game said they were going to release a coin? Yeah, that's exactly the one I was talking about. So you got some customers and fans. I'm sure people will be following up with this video. Let me know in the comments if you do have any questions for Phil. I'll be sure to pass them along. And do people can best reach out to you if they have questions? Is it do you have like the email?
Contact.
Can I drop your email in the contact? You check all that good stuff.
Yeah, you just go to my site and go to the
Yeah.
contact. I always respond. So you'll,
All right.
I mean,
you're getting too big now. So soon he's gonna outsource even contacting and doing support stuff. So
I'm not even close to that yet. Thankfully, I don't want to get there ever.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Take care. All right. Bye.